Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my live streams. This is Comics Today. This is a show that we do on Wednesday at 7 Eastern Standard Time to celebrate the best day of the week, that being New Comic Book Day. And during this show, what we typically do is talk about some news and current events. And to help me to make sense of some things that are happening out there in the world of collectibles, I typically have a guest or two on to help me to sort some things out. And tonight we are going to have two guests appear that are going to help me to dig into what I am calling the grading wars. And depending upon where you sit, the wars are either here or coming. And honestly, it doesn't matter what type of collectible you're talking about. There potentially is a war that is being fought or is on the horizon. And if you're like, what are you talking about, Reggie? Stay tuned because we are going to dig into it in just a little bit. And as a reminder, this show, this live show that we are doing right now is being rebroadcast next week on Wednesday, on Monday when I release the podcast. And with that show, you can actually take a little Reggie on the go, and you can do so on any of the various podcasting platforms that happen to be out there. If you search Reggie Collects, you will find me, and there is a plethora of content out there for you to enjoy. Whether you want to do the podcast or whether you want to do the video, a ton of content is out there. We also released a blog post earlier today written by my man Doug. So if you guys haven't been to reggiecollects.com, I highly encourage you to check that out. What we do is we always like to give some shout outs here, but we like to do them a little bit different on the Wednesday show. And we like to shout out those people that were able to make it to their comic shop and picked up some books. So if you were in the LCS today and picked up some stuff, let us know what it is that you picked up. And if you read something that was good that we should put on the top of our stack, let us know that as well so that people can be aware of this stuff. And if this is your first time in one of my live streams, make sure you let us know that so the Blue Wrenches can welcome you properly. Shout out to my man Rob Boswell. I appreciate you, brother, dropping the super chat. He says, make love, not war. Oh my goodness, you are hilarious. Thank you, Rob. I definitely appreciate it, brother. I didn't read it until it was up on screen, and all right. So I want to give a huge shout out to my man Mark Andrews, my good buddy up in Canada. He sent me a message earlier today, and several people did. It were like, hey, I can't make it to the show. I appreciate people letting me know when they can't show up. But my man Mark sent me a message. He said, check it out. Because I am such a fan of the show and joining this live stream, he sent me a list of the books that he picked up so that I could acknowledge him and what he snagged today. So he picked up Dark Blood issue #1, The Last Book You'll Ever Read, Amazing Fantasy #1 plus a variant, Seven Swords, Dune, Blood of the, I don't know what that word is, so we are not going to butcher that one. I think it's a Boom Studios book. Firefly 31, Barbaric 2, Department of Truth, Lighthouse, Made in Korea. He picked up a lot of books, okay? Let me just say he picked up a lot of stuff, all right? So if you were in the chat right now and you picked up some good stuff, let me know what it is that you happen to pick up. Steve White says, picked up that new Amazing Fantasy #1, but have not read it. Lots of DC books this week. That's what's up. So my man Rush, diehard, another Canadian. We love the Canadians here, right? Another Canadian. He sent me a message, or he posted up a comment, I can't recall, about him taking a vacation. And he highlighted, in this comment that he was, stopping off buying books and stuff like that. So I called it a buycation, because that's basically what he's doing. He's working his way wherever he's going. All he's doing is buying books. That is not a staycation. That is not a vacation. That is a buycation. That is what he's doing. So shout out to you, Rush. I definitely appreciate you tuning in. My man Donald is here. Donald was here last week hanging out. I think it was last week that he was on the show. Maybe not. Maybe I may be confusing. No, he was last week because we actually have 4 guests on. Last week was a hot and heavy show. First time I've ever had 4 guests on, and we made the magic happen. We were over 1 hour, but we made some magic happen. So shout out to my man Donald for representing. Matt Woods, how you doing, brother? He is indeed a good guy. He is. All right, scrolling through, who is that? Zeem picked up the Dune book as well. And I think that is from Boom Studios, right? I saw Ross Ritchie post up a couple of things as of late, and I could have swore one of them was related to Dune. Amy, how you doing? It is good to see you. Aegis of Comics of Alaska is in the house. If you guys didn't see it, I was on their show. I was with the ladies of Aegis last week. So if you guys didn't see that one, I definitely encourage you guys to check it out. It was a robust live stream. It was a robust live stream. They actually gave me a look at the Penguin box, the Penguin shipment. Now the Penguin's now doing distribution. We took a look at their shipping method, and I think that the ladies of Aegis were impressed by the thickness of the brown cardboard that was used to protect the comic. So if you guys haven't checked out that live stream, I highly encourage you guys to check that one out. Scrolling through some of the comments, my man Joey, how you doing, brother? He said, picked up my books earlier, but forgot what I picked up. Does the new Overstreet count? You know, I had somebody reach out to me today. And there was a thought around whether the Overstreet is still necessary or not. And I don't know where you guys land on that one. I definitely have my thoughts on Overstreet, but I'm curious what the chat thinks. So if you guys want to consider that and comment on whether Overstreet is still relevant, and if so, how, definitely be interested in hearing what those thoughts are. Scrolling through, my man William says, hey, I'm taking a step back. William Cruz says, I'm taking a step back. Have to save up for some things. You have to do what you have to do, brother. And sometimes because we don't have an infinite supply of disposable income, we sometimes have to check ourselves, pump the brakes, take a step back and slow it down before we jam ourselves up. So I definitely respect that. He says, trying to stick to the blue chips. That's what's up. Guacamole is best with the blue chips. Scrolling through some of the comments here, seeing what else you guys are talking about. Juggernaut is in the house. How you doing, brother? It is good to see you. DD says, got the Shang-Chi ASM 71, 5 copies, 1 for me and 4 for my grandkid. Brother, I hope your grandkids take better care of the books than my children do, because my children are just, you find a cover over there and a random page sprinkled about. So hopefully they do better. Black Cat and Static number 2. That Static number 2 was not bad. It was not bad. It was not a bad book. I will tell you that. I picked that one up and I read that one. Scrolling through some of the comments here, seeing what else you guys are talking about, what else people picked up. Scrolling. There you go. Something is Killing the Children, issue number 18. That's what's scrolling through the road to 1,000 for Aegis Comics. They're at, like, when I was on the show, 650. We are definitely trying to get them to 1,000. So again, if you guys haven't followed them, check them out. Hilarious skits on that channel. All right, scrolling through, seeing what else people picked up. Dre picked up Shang-Chi Skybound X. Did you guys see my unboxing that I did of all the Skybound stuff? They sent me 2 boxes of stuff, man. There was multiple copies of Skybound X in there, all of the variants. I'll be giving some of that stuff away, so definitely stay tuned for that. High Republic 7, Robin 4, Static 2, a couple of people picking, and oh my goodness, do you see the thumbnail? That Black Panther Patrick Gleason thumbnail, that dope cover. What is that? Black Panther 25, I think. Very nice, very nice. Scrolling through the comments, seeing what else people picked up. Who is that? Cali Comics, Tart, Never Never, Dark Blood, Spare Parts, Bermuda, all worth picking up. I read Dark Blood at the bequest of 2021 New Age Investments, and Dark Blood was dope. Dark Blood was dope. I'm waiting to see where it goes. That's the big thing. I was intrigued by the first one, and definitely looking forward to seeing where this one actually goes. So John is in the house. He says, holy smokes, I called a live stream. The East Coast advantage is real. Technically, people say that I am a variant. They say that this is the East Coast variant. I don't really know what that means, but that's where we are. There you go. Picked up. Made it to the LCS, and his $1 shorts are on point. That's what's up. You can't go wrong with a $1 short, okay? You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. Scrolling through the comments here. All right, so I think I'm all caught up. I'll show you guys a couple of the books, and by a couple, I literally mean 2 books, because I want to get to our guests here. I picked up this one, Moon Knight issue number 1. I read this. It was not bad. It was not bad. I'm not a Moon Knight fan. I'll be completely honest with you, but I was intrigued by issue number 1 of Moon Knight. I only picked up one cover of this thing, but I'm interested to see where this thing actually goes. And I think they did a good job of, I think, like, and again, I'm not all into the Moon Knight mythos, but like grounding us in who he is and where he comes from and connecting the dots to see what's in canon and what's not in canon. So I thought that that was actually pretty well done. It was a decent story. It was a decent story. I'm going to be interested again to see where issue number 2 goes. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not sure why that number 1 is so big. I don't understand the big number 1s that they are placing on some comics these days, but it is what it is. So the other book that I picked up is a milestone media book. I picked up Icon and Rocket season 1 issue number 1. I picked that up and I read it, and it was like Static issue number 1 season 1. It was grounding people in what this character is all about, or these characters are all about. And just like the Static book, I'm waiting to see where this one is going to go. And I cannot remember all of the details of Icon's origin from the original series, but I felt like they made some tweaks to it. Not bad tweaks, but I felt like they made some tweaks. I might need to go back and look at the original again, because it's been some time since I read it. And then you can also see here Static 2 on the backside. I had to double bag because I ran out of bags of boards while I was at the shop. So I had to throw the Static 2 on the back. I also read that one. And again, not a bad story. They're making some progress, but I'm going to need them to pick up speed. I'm going to need them to pick up a little speed so we can make some magic happen here. L. Smith says, I saw Patrick Gleason ASM 75 cover, and it is indeed fire. It is indeed. It has not yet made it to the most submitted books to CGC list, and it may not. It may not actually make it. So DB is in the house. How you doing, brother? It is good to see you. A couple of comments people are making here. I did not know that. I did not know that Overstreet had a PDF version. I'll be honest with you. I had no clue. So you're dropping some knowledge, Shadow. So thank you for that. Did not know that. John picked up Daredevil 32, ASM Wolverine, Strange Adventures, Son of Kal-El, Static 2, all X books this week and more this week. And it was definitely not kind to your wallet, my friend. It was not kind at all, because that there's a couple of books right there. I had to buy my Bad Idea bundle earlier today. I had to pay for it, all of it, because I want to continue getting all my Bad Idea books. So that was an unexpected expense. I will tell you that. Unexpected expense on my part, but I think it's worth the money because I am enjoying the Bad Idea books. All right. So as I alluded to at the top of the show here, I decided to call this show Grading Wars, because I think in a few different ways we are potentially going to see grading explode in lots of different ways. And I mean that even more so than what we've already seen thus far. And at present, what we are seeing is that there are new grading companies coming into the market. And I'm talking generally grading companies, new entrants and coming into the market. We are seeing some consolidation among some of the players that are out there. We are seeing new product offerings, and all of this stuff in my mind lends itself to the question of what is going to happen next. What is coming next? Are there more entrants that are going to be coming into the market? Is there going to be more consolidation? Is there going to be more products being offered? Or are the prices going to continue to go up? Or is the turnaround times going to continue to go up? Or are they going to make adjustments? There is so much dynamic stuff that is happening in the market right now that I had to have a couple of guests come on to talk with me about this. And as you guys know, I'm going to do my guests one at a time, because otherwise it just becomes chaos. It becomes chaos if you have too many people. So we're going to bring the guests on one at a time, and they're going to help me to understand like what's happening, what some of the future possibilities might be, and also some of the ramifications of what could happen. And as a reminder, this part of the live stream will be available on the podcast on Monday, where you can take a little Regie on the go on your favorite podcasting platform. So be certain to look for me there. But I want to take this banner off the screen first before I welcome my first guest to the show, and that guest is Danielle, AKA Nerdy Girl. It is good to see you, my friend. You are on mute. We need to unmute you. There we go. Uh-oh. You need to unmute yourself.
I'm back.
How you doing?
Hey, guys.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
So there's a lot of people out there that may not recognize the fact that you have been on the show a couple of times. We've done this song and dance a couple of times because you've come on and we've talked about Golden Age comics. We talked about the similarities between graded comics and graded games. But I'm gonna be honest with you, Danielle, I feel like I don't know you as well. I feel like I don't know you as well. And I say that because I saw this woman on Instagram a short while ago. And she had some modern comics. She looked like you, but she had some modern comics. And I was like,
I don't even know what's going on.
I was like, I don't think that's nerdy girl because she only does Golden Age. What is going on with you, my friend?
I feel like I'm in like DC, like an identity crisis right now.
I looked at the thing and I was like, what is she doing? I swiped and then you had the books on your seat. And I'm like, those are way too modern for her.
A 2021 book.
I don't know what you're doing. I don't even know who you are.
I don't even know who I am right now.
So, I mean, for those that don't know, you primarily specialize, and please correct me if I'm wrong, in honestly high-end Golden Age comics, original art, and Silver Age, and also original art and graded games. I mean, that's pretty much your area, right?
Yeah, I'm usually high-end stuff. But, you know, during the last year with all of the staying home and like all the COVID business, like I really had to like redo and reevaluate how I do business. And I'm doing a lot on social media now. I'm doing stuff over on Whatnot, and I have to go where it makes sense for me. And I'm just going to follow the trends and kind of bob and weave my way through them right now.
But I don't think that you're the only one that's doing that, to be honest, right? I think that a lot of people are reevaluating their focuses and asking themselves some really tough questions as a result of what is happening in the market. And as a dealer, I think that you're smart to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to collect Golden Age and Silver Age, and I'm still dealing in high-end stuff. But if I can connect with more people and do deals with more people, I always feel like more is more.
Right. Makes perfect sense. So one of the things that I really have, appreciated is that I personally feel like you were on the front line of what happened with the graded games. Like I saw people talking about games, but I didn't see the comic book community, if you will, doing the graded game thing until you started doing it.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I was a leader from the comic book side of things. And I don't know how many people I tried to tell, jump into games, go down I told you, right? I was like, do it. I will give you advice. I will help you with it. I will answer your questions.
And I was like, nope.
Down that rabbit hole, right? Over and over again. That's not for me. I don't want to do it.
And that's the thing is, people have to know, like we talk to a lot of people, behind the scenes, whether we're on camera or not, we talk. And you were like, you need to do this. You need to just go ahead and suck it up. I'll help you. You did it all. And I was like,
Yeah,
now I'm like,
it was like me with moderns, and now look where we are.
we all have to have a lane, but we should be open to the other stuff.
Sometimes,
sometimes it helps to merge. It really does. But the thing is that I have really appreciated what you've done with comics and also with graded games. And I am curious from your perspective, how do you think about the current market that we're in, the explosion in prices that we are seeing, not just with comics, but also with graded games? Really. Go ahead, hit it.
I mean, I don't think anyone was ready for it, right? I think that a lot of these sales that just happened, especially the last round in Heritage, like I think everyone's minds were kind of like, holy heck, what just happened here? Like it didn't make any sense. But I guess it does, right? Because when people see these games that are their nostalgia and that they remember when they're kids and they have this kind of unlimited deep pockets where they want like the best examples that are out there and that are available. I mean, maybe there's other copies put away privately, but try to draw them from a collection. You can't. Like,
No.
They're tucked away. People are not letting them go. And so it makes sense when you get 2 people or 3 people even, and they all want the best of the best, they're going to fight for it.
Yep.
And when there's unlimited funds at their disposal, they don't care about $1 million if they have hundreds of millions. And
I want to be friends with those people.
Me too. Can they take me on their yacht?
I'm just saying, I want to be friends with the person that has hundreds of millions, you know?
Right.
But I think you're spot on. You know, I had an opportunity to go to Go Collect's office not that long ago and received an amazing download from the owner of Go Collect, who picked up that massive collection of games. The Carolina collection. And he said, I have a burger time. He sent me a burger time from that collection, which is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
But he gave me like this download of like that industry or that sector, if you will. And he talked about those people that have a massive amount of money, massive collections, squirreling those games away for that day where they get to break them out and turn those games into some serious cash.
Well, not only that, but like they can display them. They can put them on a shelf, and when people come over, they're talking points for them. And video games, more than really any other collecting hobby, just merges so many different hobbies with each other. You talk to someone in coins, they played video games, baseball card or Pokemon card or comic book people. We all played video games, and it's like the coming of age for the 80s babies.
Because I played Nintendo like nobody's business, man. I'll tell you, I was right up on that screen with Duck Hunt, just shooting.
Yes, you cheat and you put it to the TV so you can get all the ducks. If you didn't do that, I don't know who you are.
Man, I had that Joker right on the glass. You know, I mean, but it takes you right back to your childhood. It really does. But I'll tell you, it is really impressive to see the prices that we are seeing right now. And you kind of alluded to a second ago that part of it is the nostalgia. Part of it is the person with the deep pockets that wants the best of the best. Is it more than that? Or is that essentially what is driving what we are seeing?
I don't think it's all of it, right? I think that people have so much wealth right now, like more, like even like the middle class has so much wealth right now between crypto and having collectibles that all of a sudden shot up in value. Like it's not even just the uber rich. It's just there's a lot of wealth period right now.
Yep.
And then you bring in like grading and you bring in, I know you kind of alluded to this with like different mergers where people are like, oh, wow, what's going to happen? What's next? I want to jump in before things skyrocket even more because I want a piece of this before it keeps taking off.
Yep. I think you're spot on about that. And that actually brings me to my next point here that in mid-July, we actually learned that Collectors Universe, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know what a Collectors Universe was, but they own PSA, right? Yep. Collectors Universe owns PSA. They acquired the industry leader in graded games, that being Wata. And I had never heard of a Wata until I started talking to you and you started dropping all kinds of knowledge on me. You know, as someone that has dealt with Dennis from Wata, that is the founder and president of that company, what are your thoughts on this acquisition by PSA?
I think it was necessary. I think that they grew a lot faster than they ever anticipated. And I think that they needed to be bought by someone that's more of like a conglomerate and like a corporation that has that infrastructure already built in that can help them ramp up their staffing and help them have like a more organized and expedited service. I think that those kinds of things are always great for the hobby. I mean, you can take your baby so far and then you have to give it wings and let it fly and let it grow. And if that means letting someone else come and kind of take the helms and guide you, do what you got to do. I think it's great.
Because I mean, we I don't know if people know this, but Dennis from Wata was in his 20s.
Yeah, he's still in his 20s.
Yeah, well, I hate him. But he's
Right.
for many reasons.
He's a
Okay.
vision. Really, he had a great vision. He executed it. He believed in it.
And look at
He,
the results. Look at the
yeah, he did
prices that these
something really
graded
great.
games are going for, right? I mean, in many ways, he helped to develop and mature the
Oh, for
market,
sure.
right?
Mhm. For
So,
sure.
but you know, a young guy had a vision, had the energy and passion and the stick-to-itiveness to make it happen, right? He
Yeah.
brought in a more mature guy that had actually done like the locking mechanism and some of the
Right.
technology for his cases. And what was that? Just a couple of years ago, right? I
Yeah, he
think.
did that like two and a half. Because really, I just realized like I've only been doing this for like 2.5, almost 3 years. So it was probably about the time when I was coming in, was around the same time that he came in too. Yeah.
That the new, I guess, CEO
Yeah.
came in to kind of help Dennis do
Yeah.
some of this stuff. And now, I guess the evolution is now they've sold out to Collectors Universe. One of the things that I'm
I
curious
think they
about.
sold up.
Say that again.
I think they sold up.
Sold up. Gotcha. One of the things that you just alluded to is that this potentially needed to happen to allow Wata to continue to deliver and grow for the future.
Yeah.
Have you seen any indication that Collectors Universe is going to make that magic happen? And I asked that because as I read the various press releases and things out there, I didn't see anything that was like, we are about to grow this sucker. We are about to invest in it the same way that we saw with the Blackstone acquisition. So I'm curious, what have you seen? What have you heard that leads you to feel confident to say that?
So I've had some conversations with Dennis, and it only makes sense for a company to take on another company. They're only going to do it if they want to grow it and take it to another level, right? A company's
You
not going
would
to buy
think.
someplace out. Same thing with Blackstone with CGC. Like they bought CGC and then CGC is coming into video games. And companies, in my opinion, and I'm a down to the money person, don't take on another project unless they plan to grow it and turn it into a profitable asset. Because at the end of the day, they're like hedge fund people basically, and they buy these and they consider them assets. They don't care really, I don't think anyways, maybe I'm wrong, but about like what they're grading. They care about dollars and cents at the end of the day.
And that's not necessarily wrong, right? That's not necessarily wrong. But it is, I think you're spot on in that, is that we should not expect everybody to be as passionate about these
Yeah,
collectibles as we are, because they are business people and there's
right.
some good and some bad that comes with that, right? So
Yeah.
let's be super honest about
Like
that.
I'm not like, right. I'm not trying to say it's a bad thing. It's just business is business sometimes.
Right. And if it works to our advantage as consumers, then that's great,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
I'm here for it.
how much of a baller do you have to be to get Dennis on the line? I'm just wondering.
I can't disclose that information.
All right. So I want to get your opinion on the other side of this quote that I found in the press release that came out. And I want to read this. I'm going to throw it up on screen, and then I want to get your impression of it on the other side. And this is a quote from Nat Turner, the executive chairman of Collectors Universe. And it says, collectibles across categories, including trading cards and sports memorabilia, are now firmly considered an alternative investment class by both hobbyists and investors. With those categories seeing a stratospheric rise recently, we've identified video games as the next area primed for similar expansion. We've partnered with Wata because they are experts in video game grading, and there's simply no other way to recreate the amazing and trusted company they have built. As you read that, as you hear that, what are your thoughts on this quote from Mr. Nat Turner?
Spot on, right? Like I've said for years, comic books are an asset. People collect them and they read them, but at the end of the day, for a lot of people, comic books are an asset. When you're buying a Silver Age key or a Golden Age key or even a Bronze Age and you're holding on to it, yeah, maybe you're holding on to it because it's fun for you, but let's be real. You're also buying it because you hope that it's going to go up in value, therefore making it an investment.
And I'll be honest with you, I've always thought that since I was a kid. When I bagged and board my comics, I had no clue how much they would be worth,
Right.
but I always hoped that the dollar 25 that I spent was not wasted the
Yeah.
way that my mother said that I was wasting it, right? So, and I
Right. We
gloat.
need to prove her wrong.
Oh no, I gloat every chance I get. Every chance I get, I'm like, oh, this book right here
You
is one
remember
that I
that
bought.
one?
I bought this when I was a child for $1, and now it is worth this. And she just,
Is
I
that
think
side
she's
eye and smirks?
yeah, she's amused by it. She's amused by it now. You know what I'm saying? And the
Yeah.
fact that I do all this stuff, I think she kind of enjoys some of that. But I think you're spot on that these are investments. They are forms of entertainment that
Yep.
should be appreciated. They are works of art that should be appreciated,
For
but they
sure.
are also in forms of investment. There is no doubt about it.
They're a hard asset that you can hold where you get enjoyment from it. Yeah. I mean, maybe you love it, but you also get to put it on display, like with the video games. It becomes a talking piece. It becomes something that you get to like look at and enjoy every day, not like a stock, right? You put it in, you watch it go up, you watch it go down.
And
Comic
that's it.
book or
Like you don't even get a piece of paper. You don't even
right.
back in the day, you used to at least get a little certificate that you could
Right.
stare at.
No, gone are those days.
You don't even get that now, right? And it's like I would much rather hold. Not, I mean, let's be honest. So I'm diversified. I have stocks, mutual
Same.
funds, life insurance. Like, let's be
Yep.
super clear about that. But there's nothing wrong with having some golds and some silver and some
Ditto.
comic books because
Gotta have a little of it all just in
you
case.
have to have a
Spread
little
it
bit of
out.
it all,
Yep.
right? My Burger Time $1 million copy. That's what I'm expecting, right? $1 million copy back there. But I will tell you from
You
that
need a
quote,
Mario.
what'd you say? I need a well, first of all, let's be honest. If I had listened to you when you gave me advice many months ago, I would have been in a better position. But I was stubborn and not
Right.
wanting to diversify my interests.
Right.
So I said, I'm not the one with the whole, $1 million Superman books like you had,
I don't
right?
know what you're talking about.
All right. So there was a part of that quote from that jumped out at me that I want to revisit. And he said, we are partnering with Wata because they are experts in video game grading, and there's simply no other way to recreate the amazing and trusted company that they've built. That jumps out at me as being interesting because they're basically making a statement here. And the way that I read it, they thought about building their own. They thought about going it alone and said, you know what? It's probably easier, safer, and possibly cheaper for us to just buy Dennis out. Is that how you would interpret that part of the statement?
Yeah, I think so. And, I think for them, it makes sense because PSA only grades cards. They don't know anything about any other industry. And I don't think that they're immersed in any of the other hobbies with connections. So for them, it would make sense that they kind of have to go out and acquire someone who has already done this and kind of paved the way and proven that they can grow a company.
Are there any other companies out there grading games right now?
Yep, VGA.
VGA. And is VGA younger than Wata?
No, they have been around for a long time, over a decade.
Really?
Their parent company. Yep. Their parent company is AFA, who does toys.
I've heard of them.
Yep. So AFA is the parent company and VGA is under their umbrella. And I spoke with the guy who does the games once, and I'm like, well, how come you never went and, tried to take it more mainstream? And he's like, because I don't really care. Like, I just want to grade video games. And
so lack of vision. Lack of vision. Yeah.
Yeah, really. I mean, he's just like, whatever comes in, comes in. And there's people who are for both sides. Wata was really brilliant with the way that they went to the auction houses and marketed themselves and marketed to other collecting groups, right? Because video games have been collected for 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys who have ridiculous sealed collections that have been doing this for forever, but nobody thought, okay, how do we take this to the next level and really grow this industry?
Yep. And clearly Wata has figured it out and made some magic and now benefited as a result of that, you know? I'm gonna be honest with you. Next time you send me a message and tell me to do something, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna do what I do with my wife. I'm gonna just do it. Like, yeah, just say yeah. I'm like, even if I don't agree with it, I'm gonna just go ahead and do it. You know what I'm saying? Because I think it's safer. So I'm taking a look at my notes here. So one of the things that you did allude to a few minutes ago was around PSA being able to potentially help Wata do some things better, right? Let's be honest. Both of these companies have been challenged over the last 18 months with turnaround times, with everything else that is going on. The pregnant pause with the sip, I respect it. So realistically, how hopeful are we that PSA is going to be able to help Wata with efficiencies when they too have been challenged?
Well, I feel like that's such a double-ended question because we've kind of all done it to ourselves, right? With all of the grading companies, all of these commodities suddenly became worth money. 90s comics, 90s cards, like video games that were sitting on eBay for $100 and now graded, they're selling for $1,000. And instead of people saying, okay, let's like not submit everything all at once, they're sending in hundreds and in comics and cards, thousands of items. Well, they're still human. Like they're still only, right. They're not androids. Did you know they don't have 8 hands? Did you know? Did you know they're not like super bots, like racing through packages?
I can't believe you can't grade 1,000 comics in a minute.
Like, I know, guys, I know we want them to, but like reality is, and I like remind people, how long does it take you to open one package? Just one. Now think about opening up that one package, scanning it, checking to make sure everything, and it's not just 1 or 2 items. Sometimes they're hundreds or at least 10s or 20s on games, making sure everything is there that's supposed to be there. Now that's what, 5-10 minutes have gone by. That's just your first one that day. And there's thousands waiting to be opened. And they are humans in all of these companies at the end of the day.
And if you're anything like me, you probably mess up your paperwork and you get the message from CGC that is like, sir,
I don't do that.
Sir, you've inadvertently added extra books. And I'm like, my bad.
I get off my list. I check everything and then I put them all in order.
No one's surprised by that, but I'm a guy and this guy does not pay attention to the fine details. Okay. I'm like, I bundle it up. I key it in. I'm like, looks good. So I got the message yesterday. They were like, you missed like 3 books. And I was like, hey, just add them to the total.
Guys.
Keep it moving. Yeah.
Next time I won't.
Yeah, I messed up. So one of the last questions I want to ask you is to the point of you being on, in my opinion, the cusp, at least for people that I know with the graded games. What do you potentially see on the horizon as the next hot collectible that people should think about?
This is going to backfire on me because everyone's go start collecting.
It honestly is going to backfire, and I struggle with asking you the question.
I don't know why
you are about
to
shoot yourself in
Reggie.
the foot. I know. Hey, you cannot answer.
We know what I think is going to be the next thing. I already kind of alluded to it. I got messages from some of my friends saying like, why are you talking about this already? Why are you posting this? You know what's going to happen.
So are you going to answer the question directly or are you going to listen to your friends?
VHS. I definitely think that VHS has the same kind of collectability and nostalgia that video games have. I don't know a lot of it yet. It's a huge learning curve again for me. There's so many different prints on some of these movies. I almost said games. There's a grading company out there, but I don't know how I feel about them. I really don't like their label. I think it's really sloppy looking.
I've looked at it. And we're talking
information. It's just too much.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, the thing about it is I think I had the same kind of epiphany as you. And then I reached out to you and you were like, yeah, that's the next thing. And you were like, I just bought my first one. I was like, oh no, I'm behind the curve already. And I thought that I was ahead of the curve. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I think, you know, to your point, part of what drives the value to some degree or another with comics, especially Golden Age, Silver Age, and also with the games, is the rarity of some of those items. The fact that they're limited, especially in high grade, especially sealed, all of that kind of stuff. I don't know what that looks like for VHS. That's one of the things that I'm kind of struggling with. I'm like, where's the census? I need a census to know how many are out there, or something.
Don't even have a census on games.
Right.
It's kind of like you have to like follow your gut and just go with what you can see available. That's how I do it. I'm like, okay, how many copies are available right now? Well, this must not be super common because I can only find a handful. So, and everyone opened their movies.
Yeah. Because
like
let's be specific. We are not talking about the blockbuster movie version of a movie with the label on it, right? We are talking about sealed VHS tapes.
Sealed VHS tapes, yeah, like factory sealed. I just want to comment really fast. Somebody said Pogs, and I have talked about Pogs in the past, and I wish that Pogs would make a comeback because they were my jam when I was younger.
You mentioned that to me when we spoke, and I was like, first
the
of all,
little disc to throw them. It was like the little claw, and you pinch it, and they fly.
I was like, first of all, I don't even know what a Pog is. I'm from Detroit. We never had Pogs, okay? So I had to Google it.
I'm from Western New York.
I had to Google it, and I was like, what is a Pog? And I was like, oh, LOL, as I Googled it. So, no, but again, I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing a little bit with us. I absolutely appreciate it. Before I let you go, where can people find you on the social media, and or what do you have coming up on the horizon that you want people to know about?
I am on the Whatnot app, Nerdy Girl Comics, all one word. I have an auction tomorrow night. Everything starts at $1. I'll have some slabs I'm throwing up. Hopefully tomorrow is glitch free. I always seem to have some kind of a train wreck going on. It's just my hot mess life. Nerdy Girl Comics on Instagram. And I say this every single time I talk to someone, but I swear I'm finally going to pour some love into my YouTube channel. Feel free to go subscribe. Nerdy Girl Comics on YouTube too. There we go. Danielle, it has been a pleasure. I always enjoy talking with you. Thank you for coming on and revealing your secret about VHS tapes. I'm about to go buy a ton. I'm gonna just buy just everything. Let's race. I think you'll beat me because I still have a show to do. All right, but thank you very much. I'll reach out to you very soon. Bye. Oh, I cut her off. I'm so quick on the trigger. Before we go to my next guest, I want to give a quick break here for myself. So bear with me as I play this ad for you guys to enjoy.
I was told if you wanted to see great YouTube content, go check out Regie Clark.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. I really
I was told by a guy with a gun.
Well, I know. Your bodyguards are going to wrestle me down.
All right, so we are back, and again, I want to thank Danielle for coming on the show to hang out with me just a little bit. So I want to invite my next guest on the show, and this guy has been on a couple of times. I have enjoyed my online and offline conversations with him. This is NeoCards and Comics, aka Rob. How you doing, brother? It is good to see you.
What's up, Reggie?
Thank you for coming on the show, my man, and for waiting patiently behind the scenes there. Man, here, let me back up. I want to pick up our conversation where kind of sort of it just ended with Danielle a few moments ago. And technically, you were the very first person to mention to me that PSA had purchased Wata. So that kind of caught me off guard. I think you actually did it in a live stream. You mentioned it and I read it, but I don't think I said it out loud. But I was like, let me go research this. You know what I'm saying? And so when I thought about doing this show, I had to have you on to spend some time talking about this. But as you, over the last maybe couple of weeks, have thought about PSA's acquisition of Wata, what are your thoughts on this purchase? Does it make sense? Does it not? What are you hopeful for? What are you concerned about?
I think essentially PSA wants to be, or I should rephrase, Collectors Universe wants to be the dominant player to basically anything graded at some point in time. And I think they're kind of building that empire, and you're beginning to see those steps. Collectors Universe bought PSA not that long ago, and have begun kind of turning that business around. As you mentioned, with Nerdy Girl, they had a massive backlog. They still do. But the new ownerships come in, throwing a bunch of money at it, new policies, a bunch of different stuff. And then they recently picked up Wata. And then prior to that, they also purchased a new tech company called Gemimint. I think I'm saying that correctly. And what that is, more on the card side of things, it's a software that will scan a card and can technically fingerprint it, is what they're saying. It's not in effect yet, but that would allow them to identify when something was cracked and resent in to regrade. It would flag it as, hey, this card's already in the database, because essentially they're saying every card is unique when you do this insanely high res scanning. So they purchased that tech. Once again, is not online yet, and they have said is not going to be the primary angle for grading, but more of an assist. So that was prior to the Wata purchase. Now you see them picking up Wata, which is the #1 thing in video games. So you just kind of see them like just going around and just cherry picking these different entities that all funnel into the same, platform. And you could you look out and you could just kind of see like they basically just want to control everything graded, or at least be one of the dominant players with Blackstone, probably.
So if you were joining the show a little bit late, basically what we are doing is talking about what I'm calling grading wars, right? And it's basically everything that is happening in the world of graded collectibles, from games to comics to cards and more. And so Rob is on, and we are talking through some of this stuff. I forgot to do this earlier, so I wanted to revisit that really quickly. But the technology company you just mentioned, is it for the purpose of fingerprinting only, or will that technology also be used for the purpose of grading the card? Or is that something that's already out there? This is more about determining whether something is being cracked and sent in multiple times to try to get a grade bump. Is that what it's about?
I believe it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B.
Okay.
They haven't fully said yet. They just acquired that company about 2 or 3 months ago, I think, is when that news came out. The primary purpose that made it sound like is they wanted to use it for the fingerprinting technology, but also it sounds like it could be an assist. It also sounds like they don't want to take the human element out of it and be like 100% AI grading or anything like that.
Yeah,
but a lot of that's still to be determined, because they said it could take upwards of a year before this all comes online, I believe,
before they run enough tests and stuff like that. And
yeah, I guess they did some internal testing prior to purchasing the company. Nat Turner, one of the board members at Collectors Universe, and now he's the CEO of PSA. He's extremely tech driven. I believe that's where he made most of his money. So he is very big into tech and using tech to leverage whatever business he's going into.
Interesting. And I want to revisit this a little bit later in the show. I have some things that I want to talk about first, but there are several ideas that are percolating based upon conversations that I've had with my man Doug, who I think is in the chat right now. So we're going to try hopefully get to that if I can remember. But a few weeks ago, we know that Blackstone purchased the parent company of CGC, and they purchased it valuing this company at roughly $500 million. And we don't know the split between Blackstone and the folks that were still at CGC, the leadership team there. But I'm curious whether you have seen anything out there that speaks to the valuation that was placed on Wata when it was acquired. Because I haven't seen any of that information, but I'm curious whether you had seen anything out there that gives us some ballpark for how much they may have paid for that.
I haven't, but I don't follow the video. Like, I follow PSA very closely from the sports card angle, but I have not seen, I don't follow the video game grading thing as closely, but I have not seen anything in regards to valuation that they threw on that.
Got it. Okay. And one of the things that Danielle alluded to, and we discussed it a little bit with her, was this idea of the investment back into Wata. Had you seen anything out there that points to Collectors Universe making a big investment into Wata? And you've kind of already alluded to it, because you highlighted the fact that they were pumping money into PSA. Do you believe that they're going to do something similar with Wata based upon that historical behavior that they've demonstrated?
Yeah, based off what they've, and Nat's only been in charge at PSA for a few months now, when I think they officially took ownership early in this year. I forget the exact dates. But they immediately started doing like the whole hiring thing. expanding offices, which PSA was already doing that prior to Collectors Universe taking over, and then they got this other big influx of money once they came in. I just don't see how you buy Wata, and I know that they have a massive backlog. I don't know the full details on it, but I don't know how you make that purchase and then say we're not going to throw a bunch of money at it to make it better.
Yep.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you buy it just to have it sit stagnant?
Or to continue doing what it's
sense.
Already done, right? It doesn't make sense, right? So one should assume that they're going to make some kind of investment in that. In the past, and again, this may be a little bit out of your area, and I say that because you're not really into the games as much as you are the cards and a little bit into the comics, but we've spoken a lot about population reports, right? And population and census data, and how you as a sports card guy look at your data, analyze your data, and how that understanding allows you to look at comics, right? And maybe a little bit different from a comic book collector. How much do you think that population data is going to potentially play into what Wata is doing? Because I don't think that Wata has a population census out there, right? So do you think that they're going to move Wata in that direction to continue maturing the market? Is that a thought that you've had?
I think they absolutely will. I'd be shocked if they didn't at some point in time. I don't know when or how long, but I think Collectors Universe as a whole realizes how important that pop report is on the PSA side of things. I don't see how you don't implement one with that company. I'm sure they have all the data. They could easily fill it out. Maybe not easily, but they have all the data, I'm sure, so they could populate something like that however it would be. I'm not familiar with that grading system and like how it would work, like open copies versus sealed copies and the minutia of it.
Yeah.
But I have to imagine that's probably one of their top priorities besides the grading backlog.
You would assume. And one of the other things that you had mentioned to me, and I want to get your thoughts on this and how your fellow card collectors are thinking about this, is that with the backlog, maybe we'll call it the backlog at PSA, and them, I think in some cases, halting submissions. We have seen, please correct me if I'm wrong, other grading card companies pop up. And I'm curious how many you've seen and what the community's thoughts are around some of these companies that have popped up to kind of fill the void that is, to some degree or another, been created by PSA's backlog.
So they didn't completely shut down, but they limited it to the highest tier submissions. Mm-hmm. So essentially $300 a card for the last couple months now was the only thing you could grade with PSA. So for 90%, probably 95% of the sports trading cards that you would send in, it didn't make sense for, because you had to do your cost analysis of, okay, it cost me this much for this much to grade it, and then what's the resale value of it.
Yeah.
So, and leading up to that, they did massive price increases along the way. They just didn't go straight to shut it down. It was, okay, we're bumping prices by 50%. Okay, that didn't slow it down. We're bumping prices again. Okay, wow. That didn't slow it down. Now we're shutting down. So it was a build-up to the shutdown. And in fact, prior to their first big price increase in the early spring, it got leaked and they got hammered. They actually, the talk is that the U.S. Postal Service office in California, where the PSA office is based out of, basically was completely, I don't want to say shut down, but as close to as you could get with how many packages they were getting with people trying to beat the price increase.
Wow.
So, to completely answer your question there. So they shut down, and then the other two big players in the market are Beckett, which is BGS, which I believe is the sister or parent company of CBCS.
Mm-hmm.
And then SGC, which had a name in the vintage market for trading cards, and had recently dove into modern. They had some struggles with backlog right away in 2020, cleared that and got a little bit better situated. And then you started seeing I guess I'll call them pop-up companies. And there's more, and there's been some other grading companies around for a while, but I would say there's probably been at least 4 or 5 other companies that have started up within the last 6 to 8 months.
Wow.
Including CSG branching, or CGC starting CSG branching in the sports card grading earlier this year, which they've only been open for a few months and they already have a massive backlog. Because one of the fallouts from this is no one saw the PSA shutdown coming or partial shutdown coming. They shut down, and then instantly the other companies were overwhelmed.
Just got hit with submissions.
Yeah. So from like a whiteboard perspective in a PSA office, they're probably going, okay, we're going to shut it down. We're going to make all these other companies look terrible because they're immediately going to have massive backlogs that they are not equipped to handle. And a lot of these companies are a lot smaller. And then we're going to, have our 6-8 months to a year to clear some of this up. And then we'll come back looking like, the knight on the white horse of we are open, send us everything type situation. In regards to how the community views it, the basic take is a lot of the random pop-up companies are being treated more for a PC side of things. Like you just want it in a slab and it looks really nice in the slab. A lot of them are doing innovative things though. Like custom labels, kind of like you see with CGC, which has never been in the sports card side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So you're seeing custom labels pop up, custom slabs pop up, and some of them look really nice. Some of them look a little cheesy. It just kind of depends, to each their own. The secondary market prices on those things from I'm going to buy it raw, grade it, and resell it is weak compared to PSA.
Yep.
They are still love them or hate them, and a lot of people hate them, and I get it. Resale value wise, they are still king of the court, and it's not really close. Some people are starting to close the gaps. SGC's been getting a little bit better. Beckett has also struggled really badly with a backlog. So the secondary market is kind of on these new companies. They're using them, but it's kind of like for a niche purpose.
Yeah. And to some degree, what's interesting is you hear similarities to comics, right? We can make the exact same analogy to comics and just swap out the names, because to some degree or another, we see the same kind of thing happening. Because as Danielle alluded to, a lot of the grading companies for collectibles, period, are getting hit hard because people are submitting so many things in because the prices are skyrocketing. Everybody's kind of suffering, and it's impossible to have enough, I think, skilled people around that can actually grade these collectibles the right way. And so it's interesting to kind of hear what's happening with the trading card side of things, right? Because there are some names that you hear pretty consistently, right? And you enumerated some of them. There's the others where I'm like, I've never heard of them, but I do know that these shops are actually popping up. So it was just interesting to kind of hear how the market is receiving some of those. Do you think that those companies will be around long term, right? Or is it too early to tell whether they are going to be in it for the long haul?
I think one or two of them could pull out and kind of carve out a little niche, but I don't think a lot of them, like some of them definitely won't. Like once I've been referring to PSA as like the Death Star, and like once it's fully operational, once they clear their backlog and they have all this stuff in place, if they price things correctly, there's not a lot of reasons to use other people. Just because if you're just looking at it from a resale value standpoint, not from an aesthetically pleasing standpoint, or you're not going to use this company because they made you mad standpoint, or like anything like that. But just from I want to grade this item, I want to sell it or hold it for long-term value. I don't see them losing that top spot anytime soon. And just to be frank, they're going to have more money than anybody else with other than maybe, CGC's parent company with Blackstone. To me, it's going to be like that. One's Amazon, one's Walmart, and then everyone else is the local mom and pop shop, on Main Street. And, a couple will survive because they have their following, but not all of them can.
Yeah. And I think you're probably spot on, right? Like the fragmentation that we are seeing right now, in my opinion, should be expected. This is what happens in like booming markets, right? Things start to boom. New entrants come in because there's money to be had. They come in, they hang their shingle up, they try to give it a go, and some will survive and some won't survive. But one of the next things that I'm curious about is whether you anticipate some additional consolidation in the market. Yes, some of these are going to go away, right? Some of these companies are going to go away. But do you think that there is room for another big player to come in and buy up some of these other companies? Because again, let's be honest, there's still a lot of money out there in trading cards, right? So is there another, parent company like a Blackstone or whatever that might be looming out there that might be taking a look at this and saying, you know what, I'm going to come in and grab something? I don't know if there's any trading card companies that are independent that are sizable enough to be attractive for that type of thing, but I'll pause to hear what your thoughts are.
I think there could be some internal cannibalization. Like there's already been rumors, and they're very much rumors, that PSA was looking at buying out SGC potentially. That rumor's been floating around forever. And there's rumors that PSA is looking to buy out other companies as well. But it's like inside baseball stuff. It would be like PSA gobbling up some of these smaller grading companies, and I can maybe see Blackstone probably looking at the same thing for whatever their various partners are. The interesting one is Beckett. They have the name value, but they've been the hottest mess probably of all the major players in the grading side of things. And I don't know on the CBCS side, how they've been grading wise, but on the card side, they're well respected, but they have not handled the backlog well. There's been little to no communication. There's people that have had orders for over a year. They have the name recognition, and a lot of people like the company. But they would be a large purchase probably because they have a lot of other different entities that I'm not even all familiar with, including CBCS. So I don't know, if someone would come from the outside and enter the space new like Blackstone did, but I could definitely see some internal purchases, inside the circuit, if you will.
Which might actually make sense, right? And again, to your point, Beckett is a pretty large target. It would take some deep pockets to maybe take that one down if someone wanted to do that. But I was just curious about some of the smaller ones. And to that point, though, with some of your opening remarks about Collectors Universe and what they are attempting to do, they now have PSA, they now have Wata. Is there a chance that they are going to take shot on goal and go after comics as well? Is there a potential for them to acquire or build out a comic book arm to compete with what is now Blackstone?
I mean, I don't know how you could sit here and say that they're not. It has to be on a whiteboard somewhere in a conference room. It might be 5 to 10 years down the line. It might be 1 to 3 years down the line, but you have to imagine that there's a dry erase board in a conference room or an electronic whiteboard that has, okay, we got cards on lock. Now we got video games on lock. What's the next biggest collectible market that's left out there? It's comic books. They already have a coin grading division. That's a big one to have as well. They already have that. I don't know how well respected they are because I know nothing about that market. But the key question there is, and I think it was interesting, the quote that you mentioned earlier, the reason they went after Wata is because it made sense that there was no one else that could do it better.
Yep.
And please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. On the comic book side, there's really not a good buyout option. Beckett owns CBCS.
Not going to
I
sell.
don't see them spinning that off.
Mm-mm.
CGC just got bought by Blackstone.
Off
and
the
they're
table.
really, I mean, I know PGX exists in theory, but I don't know anything about them other than that no one treats them with any respect. So I don't know that it makes sense. You're not gaining anything by buying the name in that case.
Right.
So if you want to enter the market, I feel like you almost have to do it from the ground up. And I have no idea what that would look like.
Neither do I. I mean, I don't even, now here's the thing. And I got permission. I got permission for this next part because this is not my addition. This is not my idea. And I don't want to take credit for it. But again, I have a lot of these conversations with folks, and Doug actually came up with a really interesting idea. And I probably should have had him on the channel, right? So for those that don't know, we are talking to Neo, Rob, about the grading wars. We are talking about comics, cards, and everything that is happening out there in the world of graded collectibles. But what Doug said to me was, wouldn't it be interesting if somebody were to actually acquire Overstreet? Because Overstreet arguably has the best reputation when it comes to the grading system because they invented it. They have, I'm assuming, a ton of expertise in this area. What they don't have is an organization that could potentially, take the books in, slab the books and all that kind of stuff. But you can build that, right? You buy the reputation through Overstreet, instant credibility and recognition, and you build the rest of it. What are your thoughts on that? And I know I'm hitting you with this for the first time, right? But what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that makes a lot of sense when you lay it out like that, because they are well respected. They have the knowledge. Or do they look at, another a similar party like that? I don't know what the situation is, but like if could Go Collect get into grading or something
Maybe.
like that? You know what I mean? Like spin your thing another step forward, because they're kind of like, and once again, I'm stepping a little bit out of my bounds here, but Go Collect seems to be like the modern version of Overstreet.
True.
Essentially.
True.
So could you apply the same thing to something like Go Collect?
Potentially.
But yeah, like Overstreet, everyone in the comic book side of things knows them as a major player. So if you're looking to say, let me spend some money and I need to acquire the brand trust, and then I can build out the warehouse and the receiving and all that and figure that out. But I need that figurehead to stick out front of, hey, we are trusted in this industry. We get you. We're not the new kid coming in. Oh, the evil sports card people are coming or whatever.
You're right.
To grade your comic books. So I think that makes a lot of sense when you kind of like start mapping stuff out.
I mean, they can honestly sit there and say, you know what? We invented this. We know this game. Everybody else that's doing it learned it from us. So trust us. And what they could do, anybody buy a smaller grading company, buy EGS, buy Halo, buy one of, the one that just started up in Europe. I can't even remember the name of it. Buy one of those things, merge it with Overstreet and roll it out. It's possible, right? Because my thing again is there's still a tremendous amount of money in there. You go back to Nat Turner's comment around, it just made sense for us to buy it versus trying to build it from the ground up. You get a little instant credibility. I don't know if Overstreet would ever sell, right? But if you name a big enough number and if you really want into a market, it's possible to slide your way in there if you can write a big enough number on a check,
For sure. I mean, and the numbers are flying around out there. I know this is semi-related, but Panini, who is the major manufacturer of all things sports cards, they are the king in the sports cards world. There's Upper Deck and Topps as well, but Panini holds most of the licenses. There's rumors that they're going to be sold, and the numbers floating around on that are astronomical as well. And once it's the same thing, you're just seeing, I think a lot of these old school companies are saying, hey, we've been doing this for X amount of years. This might be the highest I ever see. This might be the peak. It could go higher, but you know what? I put my time in. It's time to move on to the next thing. And I think you're kind of seeing that across the board, whether it's Wata or, CGC or, potentially Overstreet or whoever, they worked their whole life to build this. And now, hey, it's time to go sit on a beach somewhere.
And let's be honest, we may never see what we're seeing right now ever again. You really don't know. Like people always say, well, when should I sell? You don't know what the peak looks like. The question is, can you make enough money and walk away happy? That's kind of the question. Whether you're selling a book or selling a company, are you going to be okay with that? And I think anything is possible. So I don't even want to fathom the kind of numbers that may be thrown out there to acquire this one company, but it has to be a pretty big number. And I would love to be the family or the individual that is at the top of that receives that check, because that must be an impressive number. One of the last questions I'll ask you before I let you go is, we had Danielle made a little bit of a prediction to say that VHS might be the next hot collectible. Do you have a perspective on what the next hot collectible could be, if not VHS? Because you may have the same answer. I don't know.
I've been hearing the rumblings on the VHS side of things from the sports card discords, and there's some alternative investment, other threads and some of those that kind of branch into other things. And the VHS thing is, when she said that was actually my guess. When you asked her what it was, in my mind, I was sitting there and I was like, I bet you she's going to say VHS. So I wasn't surprised when she said that. I think toys could probably maybe go to the next level. I don't know that we've seen like a big toy auction go off. I know that they're well respected in the industry, and that there are sales out there, but I don't think we've seen like those Wata level heritage auctions go off. You know what I mean? For on the toy side of things. So maybe something like that, the spotlight kind of shifts over to that thing. As we've talked before, and I'm on it, just kind of seems like everyone's like, what's the next potential thing that I can get in before anyone else figures it out? And it's just like the ISR on just switches from one thing. It went sports cards, and we're like, okay, let's check this comic book thing out. And now it's let's check the video game thing out. And it's like, okay, well, what's the next thing we can turn to after that?
Yep. And I think you could be right. We have not seen that crazy run up in games. And I was at a comic shop earlier today, and they had a ton of games, like the case and all that stuff. Some of them graded. So you could be right. You just don't know. You just don't know what the future holds. And that's, to me, is one of the exciting things, is that part of this is really unknown. So only time will tell. But Rob, as I let you go here, brother, where can people find you on the social media, and or what do you have coming up on the horizon that you want to let people know about?
NeoCards and Comics is the YouTube channel. That's probably the best place to find me. A lot of content will probably be coming out this weekend. Tomorrow, well, actually, it starts today. I leave tomorrow. This weekend is the National, which is the largest sports card collection con of the year. It's in Chicago, so I leave early tomorrow morning to drive out to Chicago for the next 3 to 4 days. So I will hopefully be posting a bunch of content from there. Word is sometimes there's some CGC slabs on the show floor, so I'm going to have my eyes peeled to see if I run into anything on that side. But yeah, I don't know what the content will look like because this is my first time going. So, but I'll be dumping a bunch of different stuff out over the next probably week or so while I'm at that convention. So I head out early tomorrow morning. I got to finish pack. I have a pile of wires and ports and chargers and batteries behind me on a table that need to end up in a book bag.
The life of a YouTuber. The life of a YouTube. People don't appreciate how many cords there are. But what's funny, I was laughing as you were talking about that, because I saw a post the other day that said, we'll be at the National. And I was like, what is the National, right? CBCS, I do believe, is going to be taking submissions at the National. So I thought that was interesting. I guess Beckett's going to be there, and they're going to do. And I was like, well, there you go. That's a really good way to continue, like, having a little bit of crossover appeal and going where the market isn't right now, but you could get it going. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But be safe, brother, driving. I hope you have a good time, and look forward to checking out the content that you release over the next several days.
Thanks for having me, as always, Reggie.
Take care, brother.
Later.
All right, I did not cut him off that time. All right, so over the last hour or so, we have had an opportunity to talk to two people that have a lot of expertise when it comes to this collectible stuff. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about comics, cards, or graded games. And we had a wonderful discussion about what's happening in the market with prices going up, with consolidation, with fragmentation of the market in some respects. And there's a lot more that could potentially happen as we move into the next, 6 months into a year. And I'm honestly excited about it. I don't know, honestly, what the future holds for any of this stuff, but that is part of the fun of waiting for some of this stuff to unfold. So I want to thank you guys for listening to this, watching this. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And as always, if you need to reach out to me for any reason at all, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.